Welcome to the Go to War podcast with your host, John Paramore. Now it's time to go to war. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Go to War podcast. This is your host, John Paramore. Thank you guys again for coming and listening to another episode. And I'm going to get our typical and normal housekeeping out of the way right here at the beginning. As I go over each time with you guys and just kind of remind you, I don't get paid to do this podcast. This is a give back project for me. And one of the things that I would love for you guys to do, if you get a nugget out of this, I want you guys to grab it, share it, get it out into the public as much as you can. Promote it, help get the word out. Because what I know is already this, as deep as we are right now in the podcast that we've done, this stuff is already changing people's lives. It's changing people's businesses. It's changing how they interact with other people. We get feedback on it quite a bit. So the one thing I need you to do, if you get a nugget out of this or you feel like you're getting value out of this podcast, please share it. Second bit of housekeeping that we go through every single time is from time to time, there's a little bit of salty language that gets used. And what I don't want are people listening to this podcast that are going to get offended by salty language and get all butthurt and leave a negative review and so on and so on. So if that kind of stuff offends you, I just appreciate if you did not listen to this podcast. And so if not, great for you guys that are here. I know that you're going to get a lot of value out of that. All right. So typically getting into the podcast and what we're going to talk about today, typically we go through a lot of business stuff on this podcast. And for those of you guys who have listened, the main point of this podcast, for those of you who have not, this is a go-to-war podcast. What that means is this is a type of mentality that I live every single day. This is a mentality that people on my team live every single day and our clients use all the time. And so the point of the go-to-war personality and the go-to-war mindset is you're getting up every single day and your sole purpose and focus is to make yourself a better version than you were yesterday, is to get up, do some focus on your health, do some focus on your relationships, focus on the stuff that's important to you and your business, focus on the stuff that's important to you as an individual, and continue to expand your mindset. One of the things that I have not done lately is really go into a lot of things that have to specifically do with mindset and the way that people think. And so today's podcast is going to be solely around the mental aspect of a couple of different things. Okay. And one of the main things that I'm going to focus on today, and pretty much the title of this podcast, is going to be that you already have everything that you need. You guys, if you're listening to this podcast, you already have access to everything that you need, whether it's in your business, whether it's in your life, whether it's in your relationships, whether it's in your capacity to go and get healthy. You already have everything that you need. The majority of the people don't understand that, number one. And number two, they also don't understand that they don't lack the resources. What they lack is the resourcefulness, okay? And I'm going to talk about that in depth in this podcast. But before we get started today, I'm not going to go deep down the rabbit hole because I'm sure you're saturated with it and all this stuff. And, I'm going to quote you. I'm going to give you a quote today from Kobe Bryant. Okay, I'm not going to talk about the accidental death and the stuff that happened in the helicopter and all that fun stuff because you guys are getting bombarded with that in the media anyway. But I'm going to give you a quote from Kobe Bryant for the mindset issue and things that we're going to talk about today. And I want you to really listen to this, and I want you to really think about it. Okay, and the quote goes like this: "So many of you have talent. So many of you are special. It's what's sad to me is that so many of you waste it because you don't think you even have it. That's the saddest thing I hear, and that's the saddest thing I see." You understand, like this man is going to go down in history as a legend, as one of the greats in history. And one of the saddest things to him is coming up to people that are incredibly talented or are very, very special, but don't believe that they are. They don't believe that they have access to the things that he's had access to, or other professional athletes or other great people in the world. They don't believe that they have access to becoming great like he or other people in the world. And so what happens is they become a watered down version of themselves and think that they're going to meander through life as that person. The problem with that is I can tell you first and foremost, you're always going to walk around as a sedated version of who you could be. And more than that, you're going to always know that you could be more. You were meant for more. And the problem with that is what ends up happening and the relationships that you build and the lifestyle that you build and the business that you build, your clients, family, and all the people that you come in contact with are actually getting a watered down version of who you are. So what I mean by that is, if you know that you are destined for something else, if you know that you have another gear, if you know that you can feel this calling or this vision or this talk going on inside of you, and it's telling you that what you're doing in your current life and your current business could be way better. It could be so much more. It could be even greater or bigger or faster or stronger. But yet you're saying to yourself all these stories about why it can't happen. Okay. I don't have XYZ resources. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough freedom. I don't have enough time. I don't have the gifts, whatever the case may be. The stories that you're telling yourself are what are actually keeping you stuck. They're creating the mental construct that's telling you that you can't go farther. And people, as an example, I'll use him. People like Kobe Bryant got past that. They realized that I have this calling in me that, and I was born with this gift, just like all of you are. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to work really, really hard to bring that version out, that version of me who I know I can be out. But it starts with belief, right? That's the key. It's believing. And you guys have probably heard this. It's a relatively cliche phrase. It's believing, then achieving. It's being, then doing, right? And that's the difference is most people lack the belief. They don't lack the resources. They lack the resourcefulness. And so at the beginning of this podcast, like I was saying, it's not that you don't have access to the things that you need to become great. It's that you're allowing the stories in your mind that are telling you that you can't become that to take control and take hold and keep you from doing those things, right? And I promise you, I probably hear this story, I don't know, a dozen times a week where people are trapped in a certain cycle, and the cycle is typically fear or lack of belief. And then when you go explain to them or show them ways that they could be better or more efficient or faster, stronger, whatever the case may be, immediately the story surfaces and starts to tell you reasons why or excuses why they just can't be that way. They just can't do this thing. And I've heard everything from, I've got some limiting disability that's keeping me from X. I've got some financial struggle that's keeping me from becoming Y. I've got some family or people and relationships around me that won't allow me to become X, Y, and Z. And so something happened a couple days ago, and I made a post on social media. And on social media, I said I actually asked a question. If you could, if it meant tearing down everything that you currently have, your entire livelihood and lifestyle right now, in order for you to become exactly who you feel that you're called to be, the best version of you, whatever that looks like, would you do it? And I was shocked at the responses. The responses were, yep, yes, 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 yes. I'm already in the process of doing it. I'm already in the process of doing it. I've done it 10 times before, blah, 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 blah. So what I did was I let that marinate and I let all those posts stack. And then I started messaging a few of these people, and I said, so you would literally give away everything that you have right now. You would walk away from the relationships that you have. You would walk away from the lifestyle that you built in order for you to become the version of you that you know who you could be. Yep. Okay, cool. So if you close your eyes right now, what does the very best version of you look like? And I got some really powerful responses. I'm healthier. I'm a better business person. I have more time to do this. I'm married to a different person. I blah, 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 blah. Like I got all these different responses. And then I asked one simple question. Okay, one simple question. So when are you going to do it? When are you going to burn down that existing lifestyle and create what you can see in your mind when you close your eyes? When are you going to do it? And like I would say, I don't have exact stats in front of me, but I would tell you that more than half of those people stopped responding. Completely stopped responding. Because the reality is, most of you listening to this podcast would not give up what you currently have because you're comfortable, and you'd rather take comfort than to go and take the risk and do the work that it's going to require for you to be the very best version of yourself. And I want you to hear me, because I'm not picking on you and I'm not trying to be an asshole, but I'm telling you, until you're willing to give up what you currently have and are comfortable in right now, you won't fucking become the version of you that you know you could be. Until you're willing to give up the comfort, and until you're willing to give up the stories that nobody around you, your kids, your wife, your spouse, your people you work with, will not experience the best version of you. They won't. And some of you, and the reason why I said most of you, because some of you get that. Some of you really get that. You've already been through that process where you've had to have a challenging conversation with your spouse about leveling up together. You've had to have a challenging conversation with yourself about how to be a better parent. You've had to have a challenging conversation and possibly let go of some of the people in your business in order to take your business to the next level. Like, some of you really get that. Some of you understand that might mean relocate. Like, you've been in a position and a job for 20 plus years, and you've been feeling at your core that it sucks and you're tired of it. And in order to get what you really want, you have to fucking walk away from it. And some of you really will get that. And yet, even though you get it, you're still stuck. You're still choosing stuck. And you're still choosing to be that lesser version. And you know what's crazy is this also happens to people who I've had conversations with people where they go, man, I know that this is the work that I need to do to get healthier. I know this is the work that I need to do to move my business, whatever. And I ask them the question, so why don't you do it? And I've had people literally tell me, it's just not something I want to do. The work is just not something I want to do. And what I've said to those people verbatim is, then you have to stop saying you want something different than your current reality. You have to stop lying to yourself. You have to stop lying to the people around you, because if you're unwilling to do what is required, what you want is what you have. And it's as simple as that. It's not a resource problem. It's not I don't have access to the tools problem. This is a problem of you're making a choice, but you're lying to yourself that you want something different, yet when it comes down to paying the price to get something different, you're not willing to do the work. That's really what it is. Okay? And so the whole purpose of this podcast today is to simply tell you, we've been through, take an inventory of where you are. Are you the current version of the best version of you who you could be? That some of you have emailed me and said, I'm not, but I don't know where to start. That's fair. I can help you plan that out, right? If you are talking about, I'm not the current version of me, but you're unwilling to do a work, there's not anything I can do for that. There's not anything. You could listen to this podcast 100 different times, and at the end of the day, if you're not willing to do what's required, it's not going to change. The things are just not going to change. So here's what I want you guys to do specifically. Okay, if you're listening to this podcast and you've been saying to yourself that you lack a certain resource, and you can see who it is, okay, you can see what the best version of you looks like, what the best version of you looks like as a spouse, as a human being, from a physical standpoint, so on and so on, business owner, whatever, okay, you can see that. But what you're saying to yourself is, I lack the resources. Today is the day that I want you to own the fact that You do not lack the resources. Okay. And on the flip side of that, I want to show you or tell you how to become more resourceful. Okay. So let's bring up an example. Okay. Let's say that you are in a position right now where you're financially strapped. Okay. You don't have access to a lot of money. You are working paycheck to paycheck, but yet you want to start a business and become an entrepreneur and all these good things. You want all the benefits that come with that. The very first thing that you need to do, if you think about it, and we've been through the 5 boxes on another podcast, so you can go back and listen to those at a different time. But the number one thing that you have to think about is, how can I start getting clients? What's the fastest way that I can start getting clients? There is someone around you right now that already has access to the clients that you want. So you got to get clear about who that person is and how do you build a deeper relationship with that person, and so on and so on. You got to think less transactional and more relationship based. Okay. And it doesn't take long in today's day and age. If you do right by one person, you perform well for one person, it's so easy for that one person to then refer you to another person. And you do right by that person and they refer you to another person. What I love about social media and the power of social media is, if you're an asshole and you don't do right by people, they can fucking rip your face off on social media and put you out of business in a blink. What I also love about social media is, if you're doing right by a lot of people, you won't have to advertise, because what'll happen is someone will go in and say, hey, do you guys know anybody that does X, Y, and Z? And 30 people will tag your ass in that post. How do I know that? Happens to me all the time. Okay. And on the flip side of that, there's been instances where I've had to let some people go in our business and for whatever reason, and those people have taken to social media and written bad things about me. So it goes both ways, right? You do right by people, you get things done. How do I find my first client? Exactly like what I was saying. You got to go out and search and find somebody who needs that kind of help, step up and help them and deliver big value, and you're on your way. It's not that complicated, right? If you're somebody that's suffering right now physically in your health and fitness, where do you begin? How do you begin? How do you begin to break the bad habits? How do you begin to put in new habits and whatever? How do you begin to replace habits? That's the key, right? You got to find somebody that's a specialist in whatever is ailing you and start to have conversations with them. And I promise you, there's enough free, I hate that fucking word, but there's enough free information out there that you can Google whatever condition or thing you're suffering from, and something will come up that will be able to help you. You guys do not lack the tools. The tools are everywhere right now. They're in the last 20 years since I've been an entrepreneur, never have the tools been more readily available than they are right now. And that's both a blessing and a curse, right? It's a good and a bad. But if you just do the work and start to plot out what has to happen in order for you to create the best version of you, the tools will appear, right? I know that, right? And we were talking about before we did this podcast, we have a new sales guy here. And one of the things that we definitely pay for ads and spend and all that fun stuff, and we get leads into our office, but he's even thinking another step further, and how can I generate more authentic conversations and whatever. And again, you don't lack the tools, you lack the resourcefulness. What I told him was, you should go into groups where ideal clients hang out and think about things that people struggle with. They struggle with finding salespeople. They struggle with leads. They struggle with operations. They struggle with paperwork. They struggle with X, Y, and Z. Okay. We made a list of all the things that our ideal client struggles with. And then I put them in the groups where the ideal clients hang out. And at the top of the Facebook group, there's a search bar, and he puts in the words that are the struggle words: sales reps, marketing, lead gen, whatever. Guess what happened? All these people start floating to the top that are searching for the things that we deliver and that we do really fucking good, right? And then he just sends somebody a message, non-salesy, and starts up a conversation with them about how he could potentially help them eliminate that problem. Guess what happened? In less than an hour, he generated a sale. And I had a conversation, and another example, I had a conversation with one of our clients yesterday. He's a new client. He's relatively new into business, probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years. And right now it's him and a couple of other guys. And what they need to do is solidify the sales department and marketing side of their operation as well. And I said, if you had to get access to a sale tomorrow and your child's life depended on it, where would you go? And he's like, shit, I never thought about it like that. And he starts to write down people that he could contact. And I was like, what do you have to do to contact those people? We're literally on a call. He sends a text message to one of them and asks them, hey, would you be open to coffee in the next couple of days? Just want to get together and have some conversation with you about a couple things, blah, blah, blah. The guy's like, yeah. So he's going to meet up with them and have coffee and probably get deals from that stuff. Do you understand? Like, I think a lot of people, and I think I get frustrated about it sometimes, so I don't mean to be a fucking, rampage ranter on these podcasts, but I get frustrated with it sometimes when I think about somebody sitting at home on their couch, scrolling through Facebook, Instagram, whatever the fuck, and their woe is me victim mentality takes over and tries to talk them into why this is so fucking hard. And you can put whatever you want into the why this is. You could put why is it so hard to lose weight? Why is it so hard to make more money? Why is it so hard to have a better business? Why is it so hard to have a better relationship? And what's fucking crazy? The answer is right in their fucking lap, and their phone, and their and the websites and the internet, whatever you could read a book and find an answer in this day and age. And so I don't have a whole lot of tolerance when people reach out to me and they're just like, if I just had access to X, Y, and Z. I watched a fucking company and this last week that's millions of dollars in debt, create a fucking way out of millions of dollars in debt in a matter of hours, because they sat in that lifestyle where they just couldn't get themselves out of debt. And then they got to the point where they just couldn't take it anymore. And it was either file bankruptcy and go out of business or find a way out of fucking debt. And because they put themselves in such great pressure, it was like, no, we're not going to file bankruptcy. So we're going to find a way out of this debt. And they sat down and in a matter of hours created a solution out of it. And I'm going to tell you, they spent months in fucking pain and really unnecessary agony and struggle because they couldn't believe that they got themselves there. And then they're saying, oh, we've run out of resources. It's like, what the fuck? We're living in a world right now that has so many resources at our fingertips, and yet there's still people that like, oh, I don't have enough resources, or, oh, I don't have access to this thing that I need. Meanwhile, there's some kid in fucking poverty growing up in the fucking hood that's going to end up being the next Kobe Bryant. There's some kid growing up in the ghetto that's going to end up being the next great quarterback, next great basketball player, next great baseball player, next great hockey player. Because they have the mindset that you don't, which is the fucking go to war mindset, which is despite my odds, I'm kicking this ass. Despite the odds, I'm going to get up today and be better than I was yesterday. And tomorrow, if God gives me that day, I'm going to do the same thing. 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 They are committed. They are consistent. They are disciplined. And they have that grit factor that's like, you can stack the fucking deck against me and I'm going to win. And most of you need to get that through your head. And that's what this podcast is about. You guys need to understand the go-to-war mindset is that don't quit, full of grit, ready to commit mindset. And that's it. And most of you guys are like, I'm sick of being fat. Let's have some pizza. Right? I'm sick of being fat. Give me that soda. I'm sick of being broke. Hey, you know what we should do? Go spend our fucking last $10 and go out and drink with our buddies. And I'm not saying this because I'm lecturing you. I'm saying this because I've fucking been there. I've been there. And what you need to do is take the lessons from me and lost millions of dollars in revenue and all the other stuff that I've done in my past and extract the lesson so you don't have to repeat that. Right? So To wrap up for today, let me just tell you this. Let me just give you this, okay? It doesn't matter what your situation is right now. And I've been in some shitty situations. I've talked to people in some terrible situations. You don't lack anything right now to turn that shit around. Nothing. Unless you've been given some type of death sentence from some disease or whatever, God bless you. The rest of you, stop fucking making excuses because you don't lack the resources. What you lack is the belief. What you lack is the commitment. What you lack is the discipline. But all of that stuff is at your fingertips. It's a choice. It's a conversation with yourself that instead of waking up tomorrow, rolling over in bed and feeling fucking defeated because of some shit that happened to you yesterday, you let go of what happened yesterday and you say, I'm going to fucking whip this day's ass. That's what it has to be. And then tomorrow, God willing, you wake up, you do the same shit. And it's committed, intentional action day after day after day after day. You walk into this place, you walk into our headquarters at Smash. That's what we do every fucking day. We come in here as a group. We have a group meeting. We have a team meeting. We have a conversation. What has to happen today to make this place better than it was yesterday? We are 3 days from the end of January. We broke every single record that we did this time last year, this month. Do you want to know why? Because we knew what it was going to take to do it. We got intentional about it. We got committed to making that happen, and we fucking shattered records in here. And we'll do it again in February. And we'll do it in March. And we'll do it in April and May, because that's what we do. Because we know, like everybody in here knows, everybody in here has a specific role, a purpose, a mission, a plan. My job is to help them get better. And by helping them get better, they help this company grow and succeed. That simple. Okay? Listen, for those of you guys that are in some really deep shit, depression, whatever you got going on, man, don't suffer in silence. If you need help, reach out. You guys, jon@thesmashco.com. That's my email. You need help, reach out. You need to know where to start, reach out. But if you reach out, you better be prepared for me to give you action steps of shit that you could do right now. And if you do that and you take my time, please, 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 all I ask is that you go do the work. You take that go-to-war mindset. You get that grit. You commit. You get dedicated. You go do the work. Okay? That's all I ask. So hopefully for some of you out there that feel like before listening to this podcast, what you lacked was the resources, you now know that you just got to get really resourceful about finding what you need. And then you have to get your mind right and you have to go to war. So thanks for listening to today's podcast. I greatly appreciate it. Again, remember, please like and share this podcast to get it out to the world so people can begin to become better overall. So thanks for hanging out with me for a little bit. Get your mind right. Go to war.